The moment Elena Brooks found it, she stopped trusting everything she thought she knew about her husband. It didn't look dangerous. That's exactly why it scared her more. Because dangerous things usually don't hide. She was looking for a phone charger. That's it. That's all she wanted. She wasn't snooping. She wants you to know that first. Because later that word, snooping, kept getting thrown around like it explained why her hands were shaking when she called him. She'd borrowed Ryan's Civic that Thursday morning to drive to her mother's place in Beaverton, 40 minutes out from their apartment in Portland. He'd left for his hospital shift before 6. Note on the dash that said, "Drive safe, love you." She popped the glove box looking for a charger cord. Found the registration, an old parking ticket, a half-eaten protein bar. And under the manual, taped to the underside of the glove box lid, was a small black box. Metal. Cold. A blinking green light. Barely visible unless you were looking straight at it. It wasn't flickering. It was steady. Even. Like it had been sitting there a long time, waiting for someone to notice. Her grip tightened around it. Something was wrong, and no part of her could explain why yet. A tracker. Someone had put a tracker in her husband's car. But that wasn't the part that made her heart race. And this thought arrived colder, slower. Ryan had put it there. On purpose. For someone. For her. That's when it hit her. Whatever this was, it had already changed something. There was no version of the next hour where it hadn't. Elena and Ryan Halston had been married 2 years, together 5. She managed intake at a family law office downtown. She'd seen, on paper, exactly how marriages come apart, which she used to joke made her paranoid about her own. Ryan was a nurse, night rotations 3 times a week. They weren't a couple people worried about. Elena's mother liked to say Ryan was suspiciously normal. No wandering eye. Remembered anniversaries. Did dishes without being asked twice. Boring in the good way. The kind of boring you build a life on? But Elena hadn't always dated boring. Before Ryan, there was Derek Vaughn. 3 years on and off. In her mid-20s. And it had ended badly enough that ended badly didn't cover it. A restraining order. Months of sleeping with a chair wedged under her doorknob, even with keypad entry. Derek had shown up at her work once. Sat in his car across the street for 2 hours. Said nothing, and was gone before police arrived. That was 6 years ago. She'd built an entire life on top of that silence. Ryan. This apartment, this ordinary Thursday. Now she was standing in a Beaverton driveway with her phone, in one hand and a small black device in the other. And every version of the last 6 years suddenly felt less solid than she'd thought. She didn't call Ryan first. She called her best friend, Jessica, because some part of her wasn't ready to hear his voice yet. Wasn't ready to hear whatever explanation might come out of it. Could be an insurance thing, Jessica said. Some companies do that now. Track mileage for the discount. It's taped under the glove box, Jessica. That's not a mileage tracker. That's hidden. Silence on the line. Then, carefully, "Okay, so what are you thinking?" Elena didn't answer that. She didn't have to. They both knew what she was thinking. If she was wrong, she'd feel stupid. If she was right, everything changed. Why would Ryan need something like this? And more than that, why hadn't he told her? But that wasn't the strangest part, not yet. She drove to her mother's anyway, sat at the kitchen table while her mom talked about a knee replacement and a neighbor's dog. And Elena nodded in all the places a person nods when they're not actually listening. Her mind kept doing the same lap. If Ryan put it there, why? To track her? That thought made her feel sick. 2 years of marriage. And she hadn't noticed him keeping tabs on her. What did that say about her instincts? Or worse, somehow someone else had planted it. Which meant someone had access to Ryan's car. Which meant someone was watching him. Or watching her through him. What she found next in her own head made it worse. She thought about Derek exactly once. Standing at her mother's sink washing a coffee mug that didn't need washing, and made herself stop thinking it. Because it had been 6 years. And paranoia wasn't a plan. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't, not even close. By the time she got back to Portland that evening, she'd rehearsed the conversation 4 different ways: angry, calm, cold, crying. None of them felt right, and she still hadn't decided which one to Use when Ryan's key turned in the locket. 7:40, tired, half a smile already forming, saying, "Hey, how is your mom?" She put the little black box on the kitchen counter between them. Ryan looked at it, and Elena watched his face do something she'd never seen it do before. Not confusion, which is what she was braced for. Recognition, fast, and then immediately visibly guilt. "Okay," he said quietly, setting his bag down like the conversation had gotten, heavier than his shoulders wanted to carry. "Okay, I need you to let me explain before you say anything. You knew what that was the second you saw it. Elena, are you tracking me?" Her voice cracked in a way she hated. Is this what the last 6 months has been? It's not what you think." He said it fast. Too fast, the way people say things when they've imagined this exact conversation before, and are now watching it happen anyway. "Then tell me what it is." He didn't answer right away. And in the 3 seconds of silence that followed, Elena felt something in her chest finish breaking, quietly, the way a hairline crack finally gives. And this is where everything changes. "Derek Vaughn messaged me," Ryan said. "Not her, him." Elena's hands went still on the counter. "6 weeks ago," Ryan continued. "Some throwaway account, no name on it, but he said things only Derek would know. About the apartment you lived in on Hawthorne. About the restraining order. He said he'd been keeping track of you, his words, and that he knew your new routine. Your work schedule. What car you drove now. You never told me." "I know." He rubbed a hand over his face. "I've hated myself about it since. Last time this happened, you didn't sleep for months. You wedged a chair under the door. I thought, if I tell her and it's nothing, I've just handed her that fear again for no reason. So I went to a private investigator instead. Cash, off the books. A guy from hospital security recommended him. He put a GPS unit in my car, not yours, mine. So if anything ever happened, if you were with me somewhere and something went wrong, there'd be a record, something the police couldn't dismiss the way they dismissed it last time. You didn't put anything in my car?" Ryan didn't answer right away, and that pause told her more than she wanted to know. Vanote, pause 2 full seconds here before he speaks. "I bought a second unit," he admitted, quiet, almost a whisper. "Same night. I sat in the garage for 20 minutes with it in my hand, telling myself it was for the same reason. I never installed it, but I thought about it. I want you to know that, because if I don't say it now, it's going to sit in me forever. That's the part I can't explain away," he said. He rubbed his jaw. "It's not about watching you. Elena, I was trying to build a paper trail in case Derek followed through on anything, because last time nobody believed you until it was almost too late. But I stood in that garage, and I understand now how close protecting you can get to something I wouldn't be able to take back." Elena stood there, trying to hold 2 true things at once. That what he'd done had come from real love, the kind that remembers a chair under a doorknob 6 years later, and that he'd lied to her, by omission, for 6 weeks, about a man who'd once made her afraid to walk to her own car. "You should have told me," she said, and her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was just tired. "Ryan, I'm not made of glass. You don't get to decide what fear I can handle. I know that now. If he'd really been protecting her, why hadn't he trusted her enough to just say so?" "Did the investigator find anything?" "About Derek?" Ryan hesitated. And that hesitation told her everything before he even opened his mouth. "He's been closer than you think," Ryan said. Elena's stomach dropped before he even finished the sentence. 3 blocks from your old office," he said. "That's how close. He's in Portland, has been for about 2 months. Working under a different last name at a warehouse off Swan Island. The investigator got a photo 3 days ago. I was going to tell you this weekend. I swear to you I was. I just didn't want to say it over the phone while you were at your mom's." The room felt smaller than it had 5 minutes ago. "He's here, Elena. He's been in the same city as me for 2 months, and you knew and you didn't. I was trying to have something solid before I scared you with a half answer. A name, an address, something the police could actually act on instead of just, 'My husband has a bad feeling.'" Elena walked to the window without really deciding to. Pulled the curtain back an inch, looked down at the street. A car rolled past. Slower than it should have been. Then it turned the corner and disappeared. Nothing, just a car. Her pulse took another 10 seconds to believe that. She sat down at the kitchen table hard, the fight going out of her all at once. Underneath the anger was the thing she hadn't let herself feel yet. He was here. Derek was here, in the same zip code, existing in the same version of Portland. She'd spent 6 years thinking was finally hers again. "I need to call the detective who handled it last time," she said, quiet now. "Tonight. Not tomorrow. I already have his current number. I got it 2 days ago, in case." She looked up at him. "You were going to hand me a plan instead of a panic." "I was trying to," Ryan said. "I don't know if it was the right call. I keep going back and forth on it. But I couldn't watch you go through what you went through before, not without at least trying to get ahead of it first." They called the detective that night. By the following week, Derek Vaughn was picked up on an outstanding warrant from another state, unrelated to Elena, though the detective made clear his presence. 3 blocks from her old office. Wasn't being treated as coincidence. A new protective order was filed. She and Ryan didn't fix things in one conversation. It took weeks. A lot of quiet dinners where neither of them quite knew what to say. A few arguments that circled back to the same 6 weeks of silence. Elena kept coming back to one sentence, turning it over. "You don't get to decide what fear I can handle." She made him say it back to her once, out loud, so she'd know he actually believed it and wasn't just agreeing to end the fight. The tracker's gone now. Ryan removed it once the investigator's job was done. Elena still isn't sure how she feels about that exactly. Grateful someone was watching out for her. Unsettled that it happened without her knowing. Both feelings sit in her at the same time, and she's stopped trying to make them cancel each other out. She wanted to feel safe. But safety shouldn't feel like this. Like something someone decided for you. In a garage at night without asking. What she knows for certain is this. Love that hides things to protect you isn't the same as love that lies to control you. But from the inside in the moment, they can feel identical. And the only way she's found to tell them apart isn't by what someone hides. It's by whether they're willing to stop hiding it the second you ask. Later, she'd think about that moment again. Her hand freezing under the glove box. How it only took a few seconds for everything to change. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't being watched by a stranger. It's realizing the person you trust most was watching too. For reasons you're not sure you ever will.